Hello everyone, and welcome to the RoNCast. You might have noticed the announcement there. We're talking about a couple things, some hot takes. Ember, you wanna tell them what we're talking about?
Should we? We'll discuss the topic and then we can introduce ourselves and our relation to the topic. So
Yeah.
our last few episodes have covered both the show itself or the community. And this time we have an episode where we're going to be talking about the show and the community, and specifically the more controversial parts of the show's existence. So I think all of us are at least a little aware of some of the controversy. First of all, it's a show about East Asian cultures made by a whole bunch of people in Denmark and Canada. So um, it's dangerous ground at the best of times.
We're just talking about how Ninjago can be problematic, okay?
Yes, we're talking about how Ninjago can be problematic and how the community has responded and how the community can respond in the future to better these problems. Oh wait, Alex is
Alex is up?
Wait, let's let Alex join and we'll restart with Alex and pretend that we had 4 people all along.
You guys want to do that?
Yeah, how are you doing?
We're gonna do the intro again.
Okay, let's start some funny bands. Yeah, wow, this is not funny.
Wow, now we're finally doing the intro.
So
everyone got here on time.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Anyway.
Alex, how are those Marvel sets looking to you?
Boy, do I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, well, that's not the episode we've got today. Yeah. All right, so let's reset that. So, hey there, welcome back to the RoNCast. If you were listening in just now. Today we're gonna talk about something pretty tenuous, I guess. We're treading hot ground.
We're going to be discussing the more controversial parts of Ninjago, both the show and the community and the fandom, in its current state and in its previous states. I think we have 3 topics we're going to discuss. We're going to look at gender representation, more specifically female representation. I mean, I guess we could discuss other role models and such. We're going to talk about fans' perception of characters, and we're going to talk about the use of Eastern Asian cultures. I mean, we'll probably get sidetracked part of the way through, but these are our three guiding topics.
As Ember has not said just yet, but he should have, because we didn't edit anything out. What is it? This is going to cover basically the fandom and like its relation to the show. So we're kind of doing a dual kind of episode.
Not just the fans' perspective, not just the show writer's perspective. It's both.
Yeah. Okay. So let's introduce ourselves. Yeah. I think our race and kind of like our relation to this show. Why not? Let's go in alphabetical order. That seems to be.
So we'll start with Alex.
Me, just to be clear. Sorry, I'm not familiar with it.
We have 2 Alexes.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. So Alex?
I am a regular Ninjago fan. I am a Caucasian white male because I think that will be relevant. Intermission. Yeah. What was everything you wanted me to say?
That's.
I think as long as you just get to the race and like I guess your relationship to the show, if anything.
I've just been predominantly a watcher for basically on and off, but since the beginning, and I've largely only watched and haven't really gotten into many microcosms in the community.
Yeah. Okay. And Alexa Dov. That's how we pronounce your name, right?
Yeah. So I just say like my name and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. My name's Alexa. I started watching the show when it first came out, and I took a really long break. I started watching it again in August with my sister. And is that all I say?
I think
pretty much exactly how it went.
Basically. I think race would help a little, but I don't know if you're comfortable with it.
Like my race?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm white.
Okay. And
Am I
Ember?
Yeah, E comes before G.
I realize that.
Yeah, I'm Ember. I have also been a fan of the show since it released. I also took a very long break, and came back to the show last summer. I don't really have a single cultural identity. My parents are both immigrants. I speak way more languages than I should. My parents both come from different immigrant communities. Like it's a mess. So yeah. On to you,
Okay, so
Crown.
technically you aren't white, so that helps. Well, I'm grammatical. What is it? I've been a fan since 2012 around, and well, I guess I haven't really left the community, but I have gotten more prominent. I think I joined this server mostly because of that last season, and I've just, made it my life, I guess. And more importantly, I am Asian, specifically Chinese. I think I'll have to do the heavy lifting here.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of informs my view on the show. In a way. All right. So, what do we want to cover first?
Well, I mean, do we want to jump in with the reason that we invited Alexa down? Oh, we could plug your essay if that's okay.
Mine?
Yeah. The when you posted.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. So Alexa wrote and recorded an excellent video essay, and she then posted on the subreddit. Sadly, the subreddit channel was locked down at the time, so some people may have missed it. I'll post it in the announcement when we post this video on YouTube. But yeah, she did a superb takedown of women's representation in Ninjago, and I mean, both in terms of like the practical uses in the show, and the the fans' reaction. Would you like to say like a couple of things about why you decided to make that?
Yeah, I had been thinking about it for a while because I was thinking I always wanted to kind of like start a YouTube channel and make videos like that. And I was like, what should I talk about? And then I thought of that because me and my sister, we watch the show together. She's 17, I'm 16, and we always like talk about that because we're online a lot and we see a lot of like misogyny online, so we're able to recognize it in other shows. So we would always talk about that in the way like the fans recognize things specifically on the subreddit because that's the only thing we use. So she helped me write part of it, and then I just wrote the rest really fast.
It was really impressive. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've yet to read it, but it does sound very interesting. Could you cover the basic points? I think we'll link it in the YouTube description, and I think in the chat for now, while we're recording this live.
If we can use the points to structure a conversation, it could be good. Actually, I'll pull it up right now and
yeah, let's see. Yeah, what is it? Women's rep and the way women are treated in the show is very odd, I suppose.
Yeah, it can be kind of iffy. But it's not all bad. There's bright sides to everything.
I mean, it's one thing when you have. I mean, first of all, there's really not many female characters in Ninjago. There's
Yeah.
I mean, one of the two characters that you're introduced to at the beginning is female, of course. But that's about it for the first season, really.
3 seasons almost. I
Yeah,
mean, you do get Pixel, I suppose,
mm,
later in season 3, but like
and I
as
mean,
far
the
as
side
women
characters
go,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
Jade's
outside of a couple
mother.
side characters.
Oh yeah, side characters certainly. With I mean, even recently with what is it? One female a year almost. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, one thing I do remember is that I think Nia wasn't even really going to be planned in the original opening. You guys remember that thing about the time travel? How they were going to originally end off season 1 with time travel?
Yeah, yes, I do
Yeah,
remember that.
I believe. I mean, it's not necessarily related, but like somewhat related to that is that the Hagemans wanted Nia in the show, and eventually that would become Samurai X, or she would become Samurai X.
So,
That idea would.
So Nia wasn't intended to be in season 1.
I don't believe she was intended to be in the pilots. Yeah,
Really?
Weird.
yeah, it was more or less like a thing that the Hagemans kind of like came up with to like make sure there was an anchoring point or female rep in general.
Mm.
If I'm not
If I remember.
mistaken, Lego didn't have much substance planned at all for the pilots before the Hagemans, right?
No,
Oh yeah,
they
there's
were
also
they
that
were
too,
planning on
because
doing, like,
it is a commercial product. We'll get into that later.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you consider the fact that it's a commercial, I think the lack of female characters represents like a kind of worrying trend at the time. Where Lego, I mean, Lego's usually pretty good about marketing its products to as in both the sets and its TV shows, both to boys and girls and anyone else who might be interested. But yeah, I mean, it's a show about 4 boys who train with a man and go and fight other men in the first episode. Like, apart from Nia, there's no one in the pilots. But as far as Nia's character goes, well, I mean, I'm sure Alexa can say more here, because she touched up on it in her essay. I mean, obviously, for me, when I was watching it, I didn't really identify with anyone, but that's just me. How is it for you, or you and your sister? Could you identify with the all male ninja cast, or was it?
When I was younger?
Yeah,
Or
when you were
like
younger, when you first started watching the show, or when you were like the target audience for the pilots.
Well, I didn't watch the pilots when they came out. I started in like the middle of season 1. But
Yeah.
so we had like a few side characters by that point. We had like Jay's mom and like a few random people. But when I was watching the show when I was younger, I didn't really identify with Nia because we're not very similar and we're very different. So I didn't identify with her. And then the other like male ninjas, I guess I've never really actually identified with characters at all. But I guess when I was younger, my favorite ninja was Jay. So I always really liked him, but I'm not sure if I really identified with him or related to any of them. Specifically.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's something to think about too, because everyone or most people that that I talk to are always like, "Oh yeah, I can see myself as this character," and of course now there's so many more characters that people can see themselves as, and people can take as role models. But the scope and availability at the time, I mean, of course the 4 main ninja were really unique, but if you're someone who's like, yeah, I want I want someone who's like me, and you're limited to 4 boys in costumes and 1 girl who gets kidnapped. It's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, those pilots. I mean, for one thing, like in retrospect, they do end up being pushed under the bridge, if anything. But yeah, they did kind of hamper Nia's character a little. I think she
Well, I
had
mean,
some nice moments in the. Oh wait, no, go on ahead.
yeah, I was about to say I was about to say like the nice moments. Considering that her whole arc was just a standard gets kidnapped and becomes a plot device.
Yeah.
Damsel in
Like, I mean,
distress.
yeah.
Mm. I
Not
do have to mention, like, I think there were some mini episodes. I believe the ones with the battle between brothers and whatnot. I think
yeah.
those did most of the heavy lifting for that first year for like Nia's character as a stronger kind of female warrior until
Yeah, I mean, it
season
was kind
2
of like,
season 1 where she becomes.
it's almost a bit disconcerting. Like whenever Nia gets to speak in the pilots, she doesn't often. It's she seems to be capable. But then whenever she's off screen, when Kai talks about her, and Jay immediately is like, "Oh, we're saving her. Is she hot?" From then
Yeah.
on, it kind of spirals into a um almost like a disregard for those points that could have been brought up for Nia, like the hints at the fact that she is capable of taking care of herself, which we don't see, of course, in season 1, but that's like brushed under the rug almost.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like, I don't know what they were
Yeah.
thinking with Nia in the pilots.
Yeah.
Like, what was their
Like,
goal? Where were they going with
I mean, it doesn't help that Jay has that sleazy Brooklyn accent. Am I right?
it?
Yeah. Yeah, they try to remedy it, with the mini episode, with the mini movies, and then like episode 1 of season 1 has Nia like doing the training course,
Mhm.
so that does try to help. But I feel like, I mean, there are periods, even as Samurai X, where Nia feels like she's thrown under the bus. Like what is it? Season 2, I know she gets kidnapped. I mean, that's problematic on multiple cases, but like more specifically, season 3 and 4 feel like she isn't really a character. She's kind of
No.
the extra muscle they bring in whenever they need something taken care of. So she just works on the machines. I don't want to sound stupid, I guess, but it feels like domesticity, but
Mhm.
as a mechanic. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't really do much, and she works on the cars. She
And
stays
then
in the
shows up.
stays in the auto body shop and acts like a good wife.
Oh wait, there's actually, I mean, there's one other thing that Nia does in season 3 and season 4, and that's the love triangle.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Even then, that's just brought in to like make Jay's character better, honestly,
Yeah.
or Jay
It's
or
just
Cole's
like,
characters.
it feels almost like with the love triangle, she's a pawn to get the males to develop. And she
Mhm.
doesn't even develop from it. She's honestly barely even involved in it. Once they start fighting, she just backs out immediately. Which, I
Yeah.
mean, I would do the same, but
I mean, the one interesting thing about the love triangle, and I actually don't know how hinted on this was because I've only seen Rebooted like twice.
Good call.
But I think there's a few times where Nia says stuff to Jay where she's like, Jay, I really didn't pick you. Like, you're the one who picked me. I really didn't have a say in our relationship.
It's true.
Which is then, I mean, that gets hinted at more in later episodes. And it's not hinted
Better
at.
in
It's
Skybound, probably.
yeah, in
Yeah, for sure.
Skybound, it's fully explained. But I mean, that would have been interesting. Like if the love triangle had been a a story within a story where it's being critical of that whole, oh, we're gonna fight over a
Yeah.
girl instead of just being fighting over a girl. Like, what?
yeah. One of the reasons why I don't want to reboot it that much is because of the love triangle, because it's just kind of disappointing. I don't like watching it. I get a
Yeah,
lot of
like
secondhand embarrassment.
In retrospect, like in tournament, it's handled better because it does get Cole and Jay's characters like closer. They don't have a single moment together, so it establishes one dynamic with Cole. But at the same time, it's very badly handled, and
Yeah.
on very many levels. So
Yeah. With the love
Mm.
triangle, it kind of just really shows through that the show's writing team is mostly men.
yeah,
Well,
I think
it's
I
almost
mean
more of a love line. Like they drop Nia, it's just a love conflict between Cole and Jay.
yeah, I
Exactly.
should mention like one of the better directors. I think her name is Chile Vistrup. She's directed some of the best episodes in the show, with Game of Masks, for example.
Mhm.
Or a lot of Sons of Garmadon episodes. I know she made some of the better tournament episodes. I'd have to look up her IMDb page, but I'd hope that would like have some influence on it. She does just direct though, not actually write.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not too familiar with the show's team, but
Yeah.
I know a few.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. Speaking of like, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say, do we want to use this to hop over to Sons of Garmadon? Because that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
recent
Uh,
season with some pretty great.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
it
Hunted.
has
I would
more
like to
female.
like Hunted. I love,
characters.
but like I want to specifically go through with like Nia there, and then maybe we could go through the other
Yeah,
characters.
sure,
But like,
we can keep with Nia.
yeah,
I mean,
Sons of
we haven't
Garmadon.
talked about
I guess
her.
we could talk about both because I felt like Sons of Garmadon doesn't really. Well, for one thing, it focuses on mainly Lloyd. It gives Cole and Zane some focus,
Mhm.
and then I expected Kai, Jay, and like Nia to have focus in Hunted. But if there's any character that really just doesn't have a moment to shine outside of one moment at the beginning that Tommy was really proud of, he posted on his Twitter. It's Nia,
Yeah.
I mean, in Hunted, Nia's character, I think at least reaches like its new height. I mean, there's the whole Samurai X vibe you have in the first couple seasons, and then there's the Water Ninja. But it always feels like Nia's either working on her own to save the ninja and like to fix the ninja's mistakes, or she's just following what the ninjas say. Like even
Yeah,
when
she's
they
the muscle.
ninja. She's always like a part of the ninja's plan. But in Hunted, I mean, the end of Sons of Garmadon, the final episode, and then in Hunted, when Nia is on her own, we really see how capable she is. Like, I'm gonna say this: until I saw Nia's character in Hunted, I didn't realize how weak her character development was prior to that, and how neglected her character had been. 'Cause I was like,
Certainly,
hang on,
yeah.
here's so many other things you could do with Hunted. I mean, you could do with Nia in Hunted. And of course, we have the other big characters in. Actually, before we say that, something else has just occurred to me about Nia. Specifically regarding her water ninja. Her water ninja persona that she takes on. And the reactions that fans have had. I know we wanted to talk about fan reactions. But Nia as a water ninja, right? That was part of the show for a while. That wasn't something new that was. It's not like some new explanation was brought up about how someone could suddenly become a ninja. Nia followed the exact same steps that all the other characters did. She unlocked her elemental powers. She reached her true potential. I mean, she had her training struggles and all that. But for some reason, the backlash from the fans. I'm not even going to call it backlash because it's not like an immediate thing. But like when we look at I know Alexa touched at this in her video essay. When we look at like ratings of the ninja on the subreddit and such, Nia's always at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Right? Nia's
She always
always
has. She gets
Yeah,
ratio.
I remember a
Straight.
lot of people typically just put her at the bottom.
She's always the most annoying ninja, the weakest ninja, the most pointless ninja. Like, what ninja should never have become a ninja? Nia. It's like,
Oh, especially the Samurai X versus Water Ninja memes, stuff like that.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't get the I mean, some of it obviously is down to Ninjago fans just not wanting their show to be changed, which is weird for people who like a show that has continuity. But so much of it, I think, is just down to the fact that Nia's a girl. That
Mhm.
doesn't fit. I don't know. It's concerning.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely. Oh. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah, I just feel like when it's the only reason why it sticks out so much is because of the extreme like ratios. Like she doesn't need to come in first because she's not even my favorite. But when she comes in very last, sometimes she'll have like 6 votes and everyone else will have like 60. Then that you kind of have to get a little suspicious and think a little harder and be like, is this misogyny or is this just like people not wanting to deal with change?
Well, I mean,
So you
it's
have to.
it's always those questions that like. I mean, this is gonna be like people are probably gonna get mad at me for this, but it's like it's always those questions where people already tend to like with other pieces of media, with people tend to put female characters at the bottom. Like when it's what character's strongest. I mean, of course, there's the whole weak women stereotype, and I mean, there's the what I remember there was a what ninja's the most annoying one a couple weeks ago, and that was one where Nia actually came in first, surprisingly. From
Yeah, I
most
think I
annoying
saw that.
ninja. It's always those traits. Um, and of course, I mean, she really does come in the very bottom, always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my sister, every single time when those are posted, we're always like, let's check, see how far down she is.
Yeah. I'd argue like almost these fans. I mean, fans mostly want to see her like not be as reactive or as quote unquote annoying. Like, what is it? In tournament she doesn't do much. She like everyone else gets a general character moment except Kai and Nia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of fans, I guess mainly male fans, like that. Like I realize this almost doesn't feel related, but I remember reading one of these webcomics. You guys know Ninjago fan 0728, right? He does
Yeah,
like little
I've seen
Instagram
them.
webcomics. They're
Yeah.
fun.
Not really.
Okay. He's on Insta. I think he's Wayne now. Wayne 0728 or
Oh, I
something.
know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, like the guy. He seems like a nice guy, but like it's very interesting that like almost all the time Nia's always like relegated to being on the bounty, piloting the bounty, working on stuff that isn't related to like a main plot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what is it? Her time as Samurai X. This might be why they generally like her as Samurai X better than as an active player as the Water Ninja. It's because they prefer her when she's like just brought in as like the backup muscle to take care of the boys' messes or to make them new cars.
Yeah. I actually didn't even think of like that's what she would do as Samurai X. I always liked her as Samurai X. I thought she was cool. And then it kind of stuck out when she became the water ninja and she was like, I don't want to do this. I still want to be Samurai X. I was always like, why can't she be both? But now that you bring that up, that's actually a good point.
That's another thing. I mean, her Samurai X character design, like according to the character Nia, Samurai X is her way of breaking out of that. The boys do their thing, and you can help them. But then on a writing level, like in terms of the plot, she's just stuck back in another helping role.
Yeah, she kind of. I mean, initially it's nice, but then like eventually it just kind of falls apart almost.
Mm.
I feel like season 1 is the only time they really got their mileage actually out of Samurai X. Because back to season 2, she just becomes like Sensei with sidekick for a vast majority of the missions. That just
Oh yeah,
again relegated to its own thing.
Oh yeah, I almost wrong place, wrong time. You guys all know that episode. I almost mistaked her for like sleeping in the same bed with Wu. Funny. Well,
Yeah, I mean, she's in the same room area. It's like
that's a
it's like
detour. Sorry.
she gets stuck to really stuck as like a side character, even though she's. I mean, now of course she's a main character. Do we want to talk about that? Maybe like how Nia's been treated in the recent season. Of course, we can't discuss Seabound Maybe we can discuss that.
Yeah, we can't
Is that
discuss
off the
Seabound.
list? Okay.
I do like her in the Wild Brain seasons. I think she's been
Yeah,
given
yeah.
a lot of.
She's
I
good.
think I honestly want to talk about her in the movie first, and then we can get to that
Well, sure, we
because
can
that movie
build about it.
design really helped her.
I actually haven't seen the movie, so I don't know
Nor
how much I
have
can
Or
add
I'm
to
just
that.
talking
but-
design-wise mainly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the movie itself is not very good. Nia, like
I've-
most of the other characters, is pushed to the wayside, but like her design really does help. She looks a lot spunkier. You know, a lot
Mhm.
more. You know, a lot stronger in general. You know.
Yeah, the old design with her outfit and her hairstyle and everything, and that god awful dress she was wearing as a 14-year-old in what episode is it? One of the
Is
season
the
2
Once Bitten,
episodes.
Twice Shy? The one with Jay?
Yeah, when she's quite literally 14.
The rehashed Indiana Jones outfit.
Mm.
When her like waist is really cinched and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Um,
They do that with. It's not even just her. Like with Wild Style in the Lego Movie, they do that too.
yeah,
They
It's
do
like
it
a
with
ton
all
of
the female
Legos.
characters. Yeah,
It's
they
funny
They
gotta
stopped
indicate
they
that they're.
make
in
boxes
the
curvy.
recent ones, like in the Wild Brain seasons, which I think is pretty great for once.
Yeah, they've let
But
her.
yeah, the design style didn't fit her character. The new ones,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of I know that the redesigns are another controversial thing, but they're not going to be in this episode about controversial things. But the Nia redesign was probably the best one. Like that's the one that really sticks out with me as being the most grounded. I mean, I like all the redesigns, but that one's the most grounded, I think, in like her character, and her role that she sees herself in, which is great. I think better than what she had before.
Yeah, I agree. I really like her redesign.
It overall just it makes her stand out better. You know.
Yeah, and especially the fact that like now she only wears her ninja suit, so she's not like wearing a dress 24/7. Because I
Yeah.
never felt like that fit very well.
Oh yeah, you're right. She was only in her dress. Like even when she
Yeah.
was working on.
Oh yeah, it was different kinds of dresses.
Yeah,
She
it
would
was
wear a
just
dress to like work on mechanics and stuff, which just that you wouldn't wear something
Yeah.
that nice to do something
like
messy.
3 outfits and they were all dresses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideally, if there was a Ninjago reboot, they would be in typical clothes instead of like fancified outfits.
She does
But,
draw the casual outfit a couple times from the movie, but it's used sparsely.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's weird that she's the only one with like a casual outfit on the team.
Mhm.
It seems like. But yeah, Wild Brain seasons. How they handled Nia.
Yeah, I mean, I think her development with Jay. I mean, I was slightly annoyed with her relationship with Jay, especially before Skybound. Skybound did quite a lot to fix that, but I really like the way they've continued with her and Jay's relationship in Prime Empire. That's the name. In Prime Empire, especially, and in the newest season, which we won't discuss, where it's not their main character trait. I mean, as Nia says, like I think it's in Skybound, isn't it? She's like she's always been defined by someone else, and she's not defined by Jay, and Jay's not defined by Nia. It's just like a part of their character, not the biggest part, not the defining part, which I thought was really nice. Like it was something like, oh yeah, these two characters have a deeper connection than they do to other characters, but that doesn't stop them from being their own person. I thought that was great. I don't know. It's kind of a bit of a tangent, but
No, yeah, I agree.
That's
Because-
really.
I think that's a good lead in to talk about the Ice Chapter arc she has, and
oh yeah,
Oh,
I think that
Yeah.
should be looked at.
do you want to start with that and then we can build off?
Sure. Or GCN, who is this small YouTuber that I only recently started watching, they made a really good video talking about the mirror in the Explorers Club. I'm mostly just going to rehash what they said, but
Mhm.
How Nia's fear is throughout the show, she sort of, although she wants to escape being defined by other people in Skybound, she still defines herself by her actions, whether she wants to or not, like with Samurai X with the Water Ninja. And
Mhm.
her fear is being a normal person, and she defines herself by that. And then she's kind of relegated to that in the Ice chapter, and she has to, like by the end of her arc, when she finally defeats Boreal, she not only says I'm the Water Ninja, but she also says I am Nia. And I think that could also be connected to some stuff in Seabound, which we will not talk about.
Oh yeah, she definitely
Yeah.
doesn't.
I really liked that. I mean, it really only started it started being explicitly talked about in Possession season 5. Her whole character flaw is the fact that she is afraid of failure, but not afraid of failure, like some of the other characters are afraid of messing up, but more afraid of not doing her best or not doing well enough, which is like it's been carried through beautifully. Like as Alex said, the arc in season 11 and the arc in the season which we will not talk about. Her character trait of being someone who is really competent, but also someone who is worried about not being as good as they think they are. Which, I mean, we talked at the very beginning about relating to characters, and I said that during the pilots I wasn't able to relate with anyone. After the pilots, especially in Possession, the ninja I related most to was Nia, with her whole well, I'm trying hard, I'm trying my best, but I'm worried that I'm not trying my best. That really stuck with me, and I think that was an excellent role she stepped into for other people, for other viewers, especially younger kids, to see themselves as. Which, I mean, considering the fact that at the very beginning, her only real purpose was to be someone for girls to maybe identify with if they watch the show, because like, hey, who's gonna watch a show uh, about Lego? Oh, it's gonna be boys. We don't care about the girls. I thought it was really great to actually have Nia be more than just the token girl character for once, even though she's still kind of the token girl character.
I mean, really, I mean, yeah, it extends into Possession. Her entire thing, where she she has to do her true potential for the to save the city. She can't just like naturally kind of grow into it, even though it's handled slightly better than the rest of the season. I mean, gripes with the Possession aside, yeah, it really just depends, I guess.
I've just noticed that we've gone way over our time for the first part, and we still haven't finished discussing female representation. Do we want to quickly go over to some of the other female characters?
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
could.
there's way more we can say about Nia, but do we want to talk? I mean, maybe we can talk about some of the other female.
Let's try
side characters.
Pixel.
Oh yeah, Pixels.
Also, a character who's changed very significantly since her introduction.
Well, I mean, she's the second. I mean, Misako is introduced before her, but she's the second. The second character that's introduced as like a relatable.
More close to like the kids
characters.
ages for the kids who are watching it.
Yeah, but she's introduced in another surprise servant role, just like Nia was kind of, but this one's a bit more explicit. She's Sarsborg's personal assistant, and then well, I mean, her character design is pretty sexualized.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she
The
just
first
ripped
shot
her
of
outfit open.
Yeah.
The first shot of her is like her entire body as she's walking up the steps. We see that before we see her face, before she even speaks.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
this is still like a show for kids, but you have to consider, a whole chest part showing. you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously
And
there's
like
nothing there because she's a robot, but still.
it's an interesting design choice. I much prefer her new Samurai X
Yeah.
setup. Wait, hold up. Before we get to her Samurai X, though, her next big piece of character development, after being introduced as Cyrus Borg's personal secretary, is her romantic relationship with Zane, which makes her
Not at
the
all problematic. I mean, not
second
the
female character introduced and the second female character introduced as a romantic partner.
yeah.
The trend
Yeah.
doesn't stop there either.
I mean,
no, that's
obviously
Skylar.
there's the entire robotic thing where she's like years younger than Zane. That's
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
completely irrelevant. But
I think
the
I
part
think
where
she's 2 years old, but yeah, that
I
is.
mean, it's just robots. The real issue is that she gets hacked to actually empathize with Zane, and that's almost brushed over
Oh, yeah.
entirely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a moment that
even heard of it.
it's a moment that kind of gets thrown to the or gets forgotten very often.
What do you mean?
Oh yeah, no, like remember she I mean, I guess it was part of because she was already being controlled and I guess evil, but I think in episode 2, she gets hacked by Zane so that she can, rejoin and, fully develop as Zane's love interest.
I'm not sure I remember that. I never watched Rebooted.
Yeah, it's
Good,
it's not a
good.
great season. I do think they handle her a little better than Nia because like almost from the get-go, it's shown that Zane is dependent on her,
Mhm.
to be stronger. Borg even encourages her, like if she's interested in something, do what you want to do. But then she's like put
Yeah.
on, she's just put on hold for like an entire 3 or 4 seasons. From season 4 to season 7, she's just his AI assistant.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, once again, female servant role.
I do like how she explicitly says she didn't like doing that though, and he like apologizes.
I thought that was a great touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zane's a
But
nice
they
guy.
just brushed over that. Yeah, I
Yes.
like Zane.
Wait. I think before we go, like, if we're gonna go on to Skylar and Harumi,
We could
and
finish off
later,
Pixel.
we could
Yeah.
we could finish. I kind of want to keep going because we're
Yeah.
way behind
Yeah,
schedule.
I didn't think we were gonna stop just now because her in almost every post season 8 season has been really nice, really good.
Yeah, we'll finish this and then her new Samurai X, like the stepping up, and I'd say that again, people might dislike this, but her Pixel as Samurai X is way more enjoyable than Nia was as Samurai X. Like she doesn't feel like just a plot device.
Yeah, she
Yeah, that is true.
yeah, she has her own like incentive. She balances out like being, kind of supplementary to the main cast and also like having her own general character. A lot better than Nia ever did, really. And I mean, she does have a very solid character, honestly. Like I didn't really like Pixel Zane, Pix Zane, until like really season 8 or Hunted, because you get to see Pixel like do more, be more competent, I guess, or because she didn't really do anything besides act as a servant or give him data, give him lines, and now she's got like this upgraded role where she's that she's the straight woman in the detective episode, or she gathers most of the intel. She's generally like one of the more competent members of the group.
Yeah.
So
I
I think
also
she
like
also
that.
acts. Go ahead.
I also like that it's not always a romantic relationship. Like
Yeah.
before in season 3, it was Pixel and Zane are in love with each other. But now, I mean, it's not even brought up in the latest season, which we shall not mention, is not brought up at all, of course. And in the episodes that really featured Pixel and Zane, like Ninjago Confidential, there was no mention of any sort of overt romance, which I thought it was nice.
I did
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it's-
Hang on a second. We got a caller. Beep boop beep boop pop. Hello, who's this?
Baklava, you-
Up.
How are you doing? You're back to maintain your what is it? Every episode challenge
Yes.
here. Okay. Sorry, guys. We got an incoming transmission from Baklava who came here really late, huh?
I had an
Yeah.
internet problem. That's not my fault.
You missed our
Sorry.
entire Nia discussion, buddy.
No.
You missed a third of the episode, I think. Now,
Oh, this sucks.
congrats. Back to Pixel, I think.
Yeah, back to Pixel. Or do we
Wait,
want to go? Do we want to use this as a jump off to some of the other characters?
Oh yeah, right after Pixel, we've got Skylar.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh,
thought
boy.
before we do Skylar. Oh no, let's do Skylar, and then let's go to the
Yeah.
most controversial female character.
I honestly don't have that great a perspective on this one. Alexa, you might have some words.
about Skylar.
Yeah.
I think Skylar is the definition of mediocrity.
Yeah,
Because
non-character.
she
Okay.
literally she appears as a tool for Kai, and he's like, oh, she's like so hot, and then she leaves after season 4, makes like 2 cameo appearances. Then she has her big role in season 9, which I do like, and then she disappears again. So I don't think they did a very good job with her.
Yeah, I thought they were going to make her a major player, and
Yeah, me too.
I can understand why. Really, I'm not a huge fan of Kylo either. I think most of the Kai Skylar moments in tournament, even though they're not really focused on, are generally just very I prefer whenever she's like, sorry, we're sorry, JD. What is it? JD, I know you're gonna have just use discussion. We've got a full cast here, but basically, like, I know I like Skylar better when she's like, when it talks about, her having to deal with abuse or trying to get out of this kind of life she doesn't want, or in Hunted where she's like, well, even in Hunted, she really doesn't have that many character moments. She kind of just
Yeah.
gives them powers, does a cool thing.
It just,
Yeah.
Hunted is a step up from tournament developments for her.
Yeah.
'Cause tournament developments is very lackluster with Skylar.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything.
Really does suck, and it does suck that Kai's character is basically, in that season entirely focused on Skylar, if anything.
And
Yeah.
Skylar's entirely focused on Kai.
Yeah, it's a.
They
Can
just
we
make the
go
whole thing with
through
her very weird.
Development.
I think this might be a
Alexa?
good segue or there's just one moment I want to talk about that feels like a complete missed opportunity for Skylar's character in Hands of Time, when
Mhm.
I think Kai goes to visit her after assuming that Ray was evil and working, or just like he didn't even know Ray was alive, or maybe he did. He just thought he was evil, basically. And it sounded like a great opportunity to tie the characters together, but then they just abruptly end the scene, and then you don't see Skylar again except for like the
Well,
samurai
that's David Shane's fault. He's
Yeah.
he's Yeah.
I actually completely forgot she was in that season.
Well,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
yeah. Just Skylar has a really nice design overall. I like her character look. I like the way her character looks, but I do not really. I'm not interested in how she like talks, or what she does.
She's very
I guess.
forgettable,
Yeah, ultimately,
which is
which kind
unfortunate,
of sucks.
'cause she has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really does.
My sister
I
always
think-
talks about her. She's like, she should become a ninja, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, because of what we've gotten from her so far, that wouldn't work because she's so underdeveloped. She would need a lot more time.
Yeah, ideally, she's always seemed like a more grounded kind of ninja, and also, a lot less focused. She's more ninja than the ninja themselves, really. She doesn't have vehicles or anything. She kind of relies on that kind of, what is it? Her weapons more often, or her wits, I guess. Whatever,
Yeah.
what she has. It really, as a ninja, she would be a more effective kind of fighter or a hunter or something than the other, ninja. It's even in her design almost, as an archer, she's got the asymmetrical kind of armor.
Yeah. But like joining the team in any sort of way was never even on the table for her. She just kind of leaves after season 4.
Yeah, it's weird how they did that too. I figured they were hinting at it at the beginning when Lloyd said he needed a new ninja on the team. They had to move on.
Yeah.
They just don't let her on.
That's one of the reasons why I don't really enjoy season 4 that much. It's not my favorite.
It is ironically one of my favorites, but it's not as great as I remember it when I was 13. So.
Yeah, well, nothing really is.
It do be that way.
Do we want to talk about some of the female villains? Because we didn't get any up until
season 6.
6.
Almost. Actually, no, 5. 5 technically had a villain, but
we had a sub-villain who was female.
Yeah, Skylar technically counts as a villain in season 4.
Yeah,
but I mean, it really is 5.
And then the first villain is what's her name?
Bansha. Not really worth talking about. She screams, and she is a ghost. None of the ghosts really get much development, if anything, outside of Moro. And then he's handled pretty poorly. That's true.
And then Dogshanks.
Oh yeah.
And I know there's been some discussion that what's his name with the masks.
Ultraviolet?
No.
No.
From not a concept.
Double. No. What's his name? Doubloon. Yes.
I know there's some fan theories that Doubloon's female, but we're gonna count Dogshanks as the only.
He could be any gender, honestly, or they man's wearing a mask.
Yeah, Doubloon is now non-binary in my books.
It works. I mean, he doesn't do male or female. He can do both, and he can switch his face. But
he's two-faced.
Yeah, I wish we had Angry on actually. Angry mentioned every single Skybound villain is some kind of reflection of Jay or Nia, and Dogshanks specifically is that reflection of Nia, trying to push herself and become the best in service of other people instead of herself. In a way.
Dogshanks' dynamic with Nia, I think that was handled very well.
Yeah.
The mutual
respect. It feels organic. It feels very organic. It feels like girls supporting girls in a way, which is a thing now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice even though they're both on opposite sides of the story. At least for the beginning, of course. Do we want to mention the last female character that's introduced in Skybound, Dilara?
Dilara? She is a character.
There's much to say about her.
She is definitely necessary for what's his name? Nauticon to do his plan, have some kind of cover, and I guess she acts as his emotional support, but she really doesn't. She's not really a character so much as an idea. So I wouldn't really discuss her, I suppose.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count her as a character. She doesn't do anything.
Yeah. She's mostly just a plot point that's specifically a symbol, really. She's a symbol, if anything, of what is it? Well, I'm not sure, but I know she's a symbol.
Well, it's kind of like the damsel in distress.
Oh yeah,
story,
almost an ideal kind of woman, which is why it's what is it? Disconcerting when Nia just becomes Dilara. It's almost the ideal woman that Nia would like to avoid, or the ideal woman in a man's brain, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess we can move on to season 8.
Yeah.
Wow, we're forgetting about Makia.
And we don't care about Makia. Oh well, no. I'm gonna say one thing about Makia.
Oh yeah.
Female.
The funny female villain that Acronix wants to bang.
Yeah. Female character overly sexualized. Done.
For no reason. Comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then is dropped immediately.
She's not even female too. She's literally a bunch of
snakes that identify as female.
That's right.
Well,
yeah, she's coded that way.
if we're gonna be super like pretentious here, all the snakes are probably female
Well, they're a
The
mix
Great
of.
Devourer's fun.
because they're all clones of the Great Devourer, right? And she's
I
female.
don't think they're clone. I mean,
Are they
the
clones or are they
progeny.
eggs?
No, the
Ah,
progeny.
yeah.
I thought you have red and
I've only
orange
seen it
snakes, so
once.
it has to be children.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
you get a mix of male and female, and I guess the male parts dominate, or the female parts dominate.
Well, depending on whether or not you stick metal breasts on the snake person,
Yeah.
it's male or female.
That's how they identify. It doesn't really make the vermilion are a cool concept, but they shouldn't be gendered.
Yeah.
And the way they're handled, I mean, they would be better as a horror character than just two guys who want a promotion. Two guys who want a promotion and they're hot boss.
They deserve a promotion, man.
Yeah, let's move on to season
Let's
8
move
instead
to
of.
season 8, Harumi.
Yeah.
Remember how we
I enjoy
like?
it.
I
really
loved
like her.
Harumi.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like Harumi. Like, I wouldn't get along, I don't think, with Harumi. But
Yeah,
Oh,
she's a
I am a
character.
Harumi apologist.
Uh,
I probably not the best thing to do, but I will defend her actions because I love her.
I think one of the great things about Harumi's character is that it is possible to defend her actions. Like,
Yeah.
she's not right, but at the same time, it's really hard to fault Harumi.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I
it's-
don't want to bring the word up, but it is like most modern day fascists. You know, they have the right idea, they just don't have the right way going about with it. You know.
yeah, and
I think
also
I think it's more than that. Like, it's a reflection of the whole story up until then. And it's a great way to say, like, you know how with every story it's always just from one point of view. Harumi is a great like window into another Ninjago. Like, Harumi shows us what the world and the story that's been created and that we've seen only
Yeah,
from
it's
the perspective of
repercussions.
the heroes. Yeah,
Anything.
what it could be and what it is for many people.
Alexa Dov, you were saying?
I was just gonna say it's also pretty clear that Harumi isn't an adult. I don't know like specifically how old she is, but I think it's pretty clear that she is under 18. And I stand by the fact that every single child villain can't really be faulted, even if they're like a terrible person. Like my best example of this is like Azula from Avatar. I don't like her actions, but I will not fault her because it's a child.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Like,
Harumi
you
is
can't
a
blame people who are who are being brainwashed, if anything.
Yeah, so I will defend all child villains.
What about because I think we can say quite a bit about Harumi. We could even make a full episode about Harumi. That could be actually interesting to save time here. Should we do that? Should we
We could. I think we
record
can.
another episode next week?
Maybe
just
an
about
entire
Harumi?
villain episode.
Yeah, we could even do one like closer to today, maybe
Yeah,
Wednesday
sometime
or
next
something.
week.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, she is a very well written villain. I mean, initially I thought it was weird that her beliefs didn't line up, but then I realized, she isn't really in control of this. Her ideas aren't exactly, informed because she's not. She wasn't allowed to like live or grow in a place of good standing, I guess. I'm not sure, but she wasn't really allowed to like grow up and take things in rationally in a way.
Yeah, I think Harumi, it's very clear that even though it's not super explicit in the show, with the Emperor and Empress, it was some form of like abuse. Like they were kind of silencing her and not letting her grow the way she wanted to. And then Steve would have benefited greatly from therapy, and she never got that. So I think it's just a lot of issues that could have been prevented, but weren't with her, and that's why she's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it feels very real.
She's. I mean, it's ironic that she's a villain because I think a lot of people, myself included, can relate to her situation, her standing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
maybe not then to her development, but certainly to the. I mean, it's a good story for people to watch, no matter what they then choose to do with themselves. But yeah,
Yeah, like
we really should skip Harumi in because we're reaching the 1 hour mark and we're still
okay.
um
We should probably cover the other the other elephant in the room, but I think we could we get a little bit
do we
more out
want to
of
look
this.
at Asphira and
Yeah, we
no,
should.
let's skip Asphira. She's a good character, not a great character. I think
I don't really like Aspira.
um the last character we should probably talk about. I mean, the one character that I really want to talk about is Misako.
Oh
I
boy.
thought you were going to say ultraviolet.
Mm.
Well, ultraviolet's nice. I mean, she just fulfills the. Yeah, we can touch on her right now. She's
One
nice.
note, she's entertaining.
She's a fun Harley Quinn kind of villain, I guess. And
I like that she's like she definitely touches on the fact that she's female, but she doesn't fit one of the other. To be fair, it's like two female quote unquote archetypes we've seen: the servant and the love interest. She's neither. She's her own thing, which I like.
yeah, she's
I
just
found it-
chaos,
yeah.
which is fun. Yeah, we could get into Misako. You guys want to talk
Let's
about
get into Misako.
Misako and hating her?
I think
And how fun that is.
I don't like Misako, right? I don't
What a
think anyone.
surprise.
I don't think I've
Mm.
met anyone who doesn't like Misako, but I think at least some of the hatred for Misako comes from the fact that she's female.
Yeah.
There's one point that really bothers me, um, which is the Misako is a horrible mother for abandoning Lloyd point. And I mean, just the whole story. Misako raises Lloyd on her own. Misako drops Lloyd off at an orphanage or a boarding school, mind you, for a few years, like a very prestigious boarding school for a few years.
Mm.
And she's a terrible mother for that? Like Misako needs to literally, Misako says to Lloyd, like, I'm sorry, I've regretted, but I needed to continue this to save the world. Like the ninja are allowed to neglect their social lives in order to follow their goals. Lloyd's
For
allowed
that
to do
matter,
it,
they
of
cause
course.
wanton destruction and create people
Yeah.
like Harumi who would have a similar role. So
Yeah, but
My only issue with that, my only issue with like people defending not defending, hating on Misako for abandoning her kid is the fact that a lot of those people are the same to go and defend Cliff Gordon, and that's kind of the way you can sniff out if it's sexism or if it's just hating Misako
wait, are there
because she's
Cliff
easy to
Gordon
hate.
defenders? I feel like I've. I
No,
mean,
I've
there's
seen
no hate.
I've seen quite a
There's-
few.
I haven't
Oh,
seen
really?
any hatred for Cliff Gordon.
Yeah,
To be
really.
honest.
I don't think anyone remembers
Yeah,
Cliff
I
Gordon.
didn't see anyone talking
I've
about
seen
I've seen people
quite a few
discuss Cliff
people.
Gordon.
I've seen quite a
But-
few people say, "Well, we actually don't know, so we can't say he was a bad person. He threw his kid in the trash. He left him at a
Yeah.
junkyard." So
do you know who else? Just like back to the Misako point. Do you know who else abandoned their child to go pursue their goals, which were infinitely worse goals than the goals that Misako
Our buddy
abandoned
Garmadon.
for childhood? Garmadon.
Mhm.
It's never Garmadon's a
Yeah.
horrible parent for abandoning his son for how old is Lloyd? Essentially his whole life. I mean, there's some discrepancies with Lloyd's life and Lloyd's age or whatever, but let's
Yeah,
assume
it doesn't really make
Garmadon
sense.
confronts Wu to take the golden weapons after Lloyd is born. Right? Garmadon makes the choice to try to take over the world and abandon his son.
yeah,
And then he abandons his son again, like 2 or 3 times in
I
season
think
1 and
Arguably,
two.
it might. I don't want to give like a whole benefit of the doubt here, but like it could be because Garmadon is explicitly labeled a villain and Misako isn't. But at the same time, you consider Misako is doing the best she can, whereas Garmadon is quite literally like, well, yeah.
my main issues with Misako just mostly stem from the fact that she just kind of stands there says information we already know and then leaves. That's my reason for disliking her.
Yeah,
I just think she's like a pretty like she
Yeah,
just
generally boring.
I don't like her. I don't like her character.
Yeah, I
She
think-
was good in season 8.
Yeah, the moment with
yeah,
Lloyd
that's
in Dread on Arrival was, I think, the only time I actually.
Yeah, I
thought
didn't
she
like how
provided-
she was handled in what was it, season 4, where she ends up, falling for a letter that Garmadon signed or something.
yeah.
That was definitely one of the lesser moments.
Yeah.
Well, then that gets brought up again with the whole Misako is wrong for cheating on Garmadon with Wu, even though
Very clearly
Garmadon
separated.
is like very clearly has no interest in Misako because he is evil and trying to destroy the world. And also the fact that Misako had an interest. I mean, of course, this was built in later on. Misako and Wu had an interest in each other when they were younger, which was clearly mutual, which is not the case with Garmadon and Misako at the time. And Garmadon then manipulated Misako into falling for him. Like,
Yeah, I just think it's definitely odd that like the way
It's-
Misako falls for it,
yeah, it's
but at the same time,
odd
Alright, go ahead.
that these situations are always blamed on Misako. I don't like Misako.
Yeah.
I really don't like her character.
yeah, arguably, like I mean, Misako's obviously like it feels like Misako's stupid for falling for it, but at the same time, Garmadon did the whole thing, and he gets called
Yeah.
out rightfully for it. But it's
Yeah.
a whole thing that
He gets
the
called
show
out on
calls
the
out-
show, though. He doesn't get
Yeah.
caught out on the fandom, and that's
yeah, that's the thing.
something
They
that's
call him out explicitly, and that gets ignored.
Mm-hmm.
That happens with a lot of mothers and like TV shows, especially like kids' TV shows where they can't be super explicit about certain things. Everyone blames the
Yeah.
mom and as a dad.
Yeah.
Which happens in real life as well.
Well, this is what is it? Single mothers on welfare moment, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we could kind of get an idea, an overview of like females in Ninjago. I guess. We'll do the Asian stuff soon, but
Yeah, do we want to do like one final
we do need-
closing remark from everyone?
yeah. I think we could just like have a general overall conversation about females instead of just now that we've talked about every female character and how they've been handled. I think it's interesting that there's like a pattern where female characters are like some kind of or do heavy lifting, I guess, for the
Mhm.
males, or they fade to the background and are domesticated in a way.
I do.
Every
Sorry.
every single ninja has had a female love interest, even if it's not explicit. Like Kai and Skylar and Cole and Vanya, they never get together. There's always been thrown there for romantic tension, which is annoying to see because that doesn't need to happen.
I'd honestly be interested in seeing Kai and Skylar just break up and be friends or something, if they ever were in a relationship.
Me
Begin
too.
with.
I'm not the biggest fan of them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I don't like that all the ninja have love interests, which is why
Yeah.
I'm a staunch believer in the fact that Cole is gay, and is written as gay, and it's been that all.
Oh yeah, I
along with
wish
Vanya.
I actually thought Lloyd would have been like gay before the movie or before season 8, but then that would have been interesting, but it probably won't happen.
Yeah, every time that gets people
It's
really
either gay or
show.
bi. It'd be fine if he was bi.
I'd like
Yeah.
that actually. I mean, well, we could have done a whole thing on LGBT representation. I mean, let's just
There
throw that in.
is there's technically none.
Yes, there is in Prime Empire.
Not until the season that shall not
It's
be
those two
talked
girls in the
about.
background.
Yeah, we will not be mentioning that.
We also won't be mentioning that.
Yeah.
Where in Prime Empire? Oh yeah, there are two.
In
Characters kissing in the background?
The dance competition. Yes.
I like
Yeah,
that. I
they
thought
can
it was
show it, huh? But yeah, it's neat
I
that
think it was Camille though, so a recurring character or someone who looked just like her. Anyways, do we want to get into part 2? Because we've been
Yeah,
going at
we've
this for a while.
gone through this one pretty deeply. Asian rep, it's not good, folks. I do want to highlight like this almost doesn't have anything to do with Ninjago. There was a Bionicle server or form, BZ Power. It's still around. It's fairly big. I think in 2014, way back in 2014, one guy posted, "Hey, Ninjago's got a little cultural appropriation issue. They use these Asian things for or Asian aesthetics for clout, and they use the kind of pastiche look for an interest." And almost immediately, that entire channel or that entire thread blew up. I think the big podcast at the time, TTV, which is doing very well right now, actually. In fact, so well that they're not at all, getting screwed up or screwing up in their management of anything whatsoever. But what is it? At the time, they two members were interested in Ninjago, but they covered that thing in one of their episodes. It's a whole thing about this conflict between whether or not Ninjago does cultural appropriation or not.
Hmm.
So it's every time it's brought up recently with that one channel with the website Masters of Spin Bitchsu, I think. What is it? It causes a riot in the fandom. Not even in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's Ninjago. It could be any other a related form. As soon as someone brings it up, it's almost immediately just bashed into the ground.
Didn't the I mean, I don't really know much about Bionicle at all, but didn't
Oh yeah.
Bionicle, writers
Yeah,
get
the
backlash
story
from the
creators.
Mall
While we're mentioning guys Lego doing what is it, tropes, doing appropriation. Bionicle did have that whole issue where they had their names censored, or no, not censored. Where they had to change a bunch of names because they were infringing on Maori. What is it? Culture. The Maoris are very generally adamant, for good reason, about not having their traditions mocked or misused.
Commoditized.
Yeah, especially in advertisement. They didn't want to see they called their characters, I think, the Matoran. These small guys. They called them Tohunga, which is a word for priest. And I've seen an actual defense of that. Not necessarily defense, but trying to get into the intentions of the writers. Essentially saying that the word Tohunga in Maori is basically, priests, and on Motunui, the island, almost every villager is in a way religious or doing some religious act in the way that they work. They farm or labor or build bridges or something as an act of worship to Motunui. But because these Tohunga were free McDonald's meals toys, that kind of it's not very respectful. So they had to change that. A couple of the names, I don't remember what the significance was for those, but they had to be changed. I know most of the Toa names, say Tahu or Kopaka or Pohatu, those literally translate in Maori to fire or stone or ice. So those went unscathed, but there were words that just couldn't be taken. And eventually by 2004, 2006, Bionicle just typically didn't just made up names, made up words. So it's a whole thing in Lego's history, and I understand the whole thing with cultural appropriation being an issue. It's really a thing about inspiration, if anything, because when you get down to it, people are inspired by certain cultures or certain things, but there's a boundary between where you're taking inspiration from a belief or an idea and just straight up taking that whole culture and just using it for your silly, somewhat disrespectful in a way if it's done badly or in bad taste, project.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
the other.
Well, no, I mean it always feels a bit off when especially when people take pretty detached things like names and assign them to characters that have to play a very serious role in a story. It especially bothers me when it's I mean stuff like Minecraft is a really good example of this, where there's the golems in Minecraft,
Oh yeah, the golems,
uh,
literal Jewish
which are
icons that
yeah, and
in
that's
the
just
game are
taken
just
in, and it's just like a
yeah.
something that attacks you. I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair,
You
there's
use it as your slave attacks.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's done better. I mean, Minecraft has that whole anti-Semitism issue with the villagers, but
Oh yeah, we
I
could get
could
into
talk for
notch, but
hours on that. But yeah, it's always when it's like or when I mean, this kind of ties into Ninjago with Jin, um, but
oh yeah,
in
you know
like
what
the
Nauticon's name was gonna be before
oh
he
yeah,
had
I
it
do.
too.
Nanakon was gonna be Assad, and then they changed that because that would have been really funny.
Oh, yeah.
Assad the
Cool
Jin
idea.
says, when the ninjas say Assad must go, the Jin says, "Who must
Uh-oh.
go?" And then the season ends. That
I
was
mean,
like,
that's actually what happens in the show. But yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's always like these when you take parts of things, even if you just take a name that sounds cool, and you stick it in your story, especially if you make it a villain, it's always difficult. Like, or if you make it a villain, or if you make it a like a minion or something that doesn't really fill the full niche of what it's based on. It's weird.
yeah,
A good
Yeah.
example of how that's like of times when that doesn't happen is the new Monkey Kid TV show,
oh yeah,
which
because that one's.
really it's
I
clearly
mean,
like
the thing about China, I guess I can speak on this because I guess I happen to have the blood, and also I've
yeah,
watched my fair
why
share.
not?
Is that
Tell me how that works.
that's I guess that's how it works.
Yeah.
But like the Chinese do love their Monkey Kid or their Monkey King. He's in a lot of media. He's a big cultural icon. And what really helps with Monkey Kid is that they do like they reference the source material. They reference
Mhm.
Journey to the West very extensively, but in a very respectful way, if anything. Like
And it's
yeah,
I was about to say it's a full like we're like okay we're gonna really research this and we're gonna make the story about it, and it's not just okay, here's the Monkey Kid TV show and there's a character called Monkey King who
hmm
is a king of the monkeys, and that's it, it's just the name. Like
yeah,
that's kind of what
that would
happens in
definitely be pretty bad idea. I mean, I remember
I
watching
think they
an
even call him a Song Wukong in like a few of the episodes.
yeah, I think they call him Sun Wukong somewhere.
Like I
I,
know
I
they at least said it once.
yeah, I remember they what is it? Or is it? There's a Chinese movie out there, very recent. I managed to watch. I think called Nocha. It's a New Gods thing. It's basically something about the Chinese character Nocha being reborn as a in the modern world. And it's really interesting because it's almost similar to Monkey Kid in how they repurpose characters because the Chinese audience will know whether or not something is faithful because most Chinese kids or Chinese people have heard these stories, understand the mythology, and so with Monkey Kid, they're very faithful to how the characters are portrayed in the media originally. But with Ninjago, I guess they're starting from starting from scratch. We should probably get back to that. Speaking of which,
yeah,
because
we should get back.
Yeah, Ninjago
Well,
didn't
Ninjago,
really like research their stuff. I feel like.
yeah, I don't think there was much source material for Ninjago beyond uh Googling whatever. What are those gates called? The
what?
Japanese torii gates or something?
Yeah, Tori.
Yeah.
Those big old gates.
Googling those, looking at some pictures of them, and like, right, we're gonna put some rice fields in. Like that was it. The pilots really. It feels
Oh boy.
like it's a very like modern Western situation with like some vaguely East Asian backgrounds. Like it doesn't.
I want
it
to
doesn't,
say it's Eastern fetishization, but it's
yeah,
more
it's
that like the Eastern aesthetic. People
it's
like
to
the
make it
Eastern aesthetic when you get
mysterious.
down to it. And I mean, you have to consider that, yes, this product is made from a perspective of consumers
Mhm.
and a perspective of people who want, to sell these toys. But yeah, specifically with like 2011 stuff or most of the first early wave stuff, it does feel more pastiche. I mean, you have a lot of Chinese or Japanese characters on walls. Sensei Wu, the name Sensei with Wu.
Yeah.
You've got the Japanese title Sensei, the Chinese word Wu. Japanese and Chinese, two people who have
Master.
gotten along very well in history. You know, I think that's why they
Yeah,
changed
it's,
it to Master in 2016.
Master.
There was also like
Yeah.
the suit symbols. I'm not familiar with what written dialects were even used, but on like I think the tournament gi,
Yeah,
and
the
definitely
Yeah,
some other
the
stuff.
tournament he had
Ninjago.
like weird stuff on it. I think Jay had something with a L or something.
Oh yeah, no, it's been there since like the Elemental Masters, but like they found a font, an award-winning font, mind you, that basically takes letters and makes them look Asian, which it's not, exactly respectful. But basically, they found this font and they used it to get something that looked like a Chinese character that would, look like their elemental powers. The only one that wasn't that was Skylar, who has a 6 on her, inscribed on her breastplate, which is which doesn't really come to pass.
It reminds me of like all those the tattoos where it says like idiot foreigner.
Oh yeah, like
Um,
Hunter Biden's tattoo. What
yeah.
is it? It's Jewish for hello.
Yes.
Shalom. A shalom
I
tattoo. Yeah.
I have a friend who has her name tattooed on her in Hebrew, but it has like 3 Y's at the end because she thought it looked better, and it's just like, what? I'm not even sure. I don't even know if it's spelled correctly. But
Yeah.
I think
Now what?
yeah, it's kind of a tangent, but like that whole idea of like, well, we can just take this and make it look good without considering the
Yeah.
um
I mean,
the whole history of it.
now what I do want to say is that this is in no way like an actual like, and we're in no way like repudiating the show. It's not, the
No,
show
I
isn't
love
bad
the show.
because of the Asian aesthetic or anything. That's certainly a weird thing that happens to be there. But like art isn't bad because it's got problematic issues. Sometimes art will be good despite its problematic moments. And here with Ninjago, I feel like in a way they've managed to try to avoid talking about the problematic things. You don't really see much of a discussion about like the Asian stuff going on, and it focuses more on trying to like get the characters to work. And then eventually, when people with better understanding of this kind of stuff join the team or whatnot, when like post movie really, where the inspiration really comes from like more anime kind of stuff,
Mhm.
or where the city basically takes on this Neo Tokyo aesthetic, or I guess it looks like Hong Kong. You could
Yeah,
name
I
any
thought
cyberpunk city.
the movie Skyline, I forget what shot it is, but there's a shot where it's the same kind of lineup as Macau.
Oh,
So it's yeah, it's the same building. It's like the same skyline. I'll try to find the comparison shot later.
yeah.
We can even edit it into the thing. But yeah, it's clearly like it's more than just okay, we'll put some red roofs on some buildings and call it a day. It's like it looks like they're actually like thinking about how stuff goes together.
Yeah, certainly
Which is
because the movie had like professional designers
Mhm.
who likely had an interest in certain anime, and that carries over almost. A lot of the East Asian like kind of pastiche stuff is very problematic in a way because it feels, I mean, for one thing, it is a business interest to have these things match something Asian because
Mhm.
you want your consumers in a way to like buy into this stuff. You want your consumers to buy the Asian toys. You want them to like buy the cool toys, and if Eastern aesthetics sell, then they will sell. Ironically, the only two original themes right now are Ninjago and Monkey Kid. So, Asian stuff for the West, Asian stuff for the East. But at the same time, like the show manages to handle this, I think, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it could certainly be much worse.
Yeah.
They could have kept Wu's original dialogue. That would have been
Oh, yeah,
much
yeah.
worse.
Father would not want you to do this.
I mean, I just learned recently that he recorded the full set of lines.
Yeah, and they had to cut
in
it
that.
because he was not Asian, and it would have
Yeah.
come out very wrong.
Isn't the entire voice cast basically white except for Vincent Tong?
Except
Yeah.
Vincent Tong, yeah.
He's got to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
I think there are a couple, certainly in more recent seasons, like, I mean, the Asian stuff is handled better, certainly. And a lot of the other stuff is handled pretty well. Like season 4, The Island, season 14's prologue. That has, islanders who seem like savages almost, but when you get into the show, you realize, okay, yeah, of course, these guys are.
I was actually really worried.
I wasn't really. I
going
mean, I
into the
understood it.
island. I was like,
Like,
oh, how are they gonna?
with most of
how are they gonna
Ninjago's
approach
recent
this?
stuff, I think, since seasons of the Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu, not seasons of the Forbidden Spinjitzu. It is 2 seasons, so there are 2 seasons of Forbidden Spinjitzu. Since Secrets, they've been like tapping into a certain aesthetic, Egyptian or Blizzard Samurai, which is like a ninja throwback, or Prime Empire, which is a gamer season, Master of the Mountain, which is explicitly like, D&D, or just like Castle 2007, and then, the Island, which is basically like Islanders or pirates or Bionicle in a way. And then you have Seabound, which is Atlantis, but not enough Atlantis. But like with the Island, they do understand. The Wildbrain team, I understood this because I'd seen season 13, and I guess these two are related. With season 13, they've got orcs and goblins, and they seem like bad guys, but and we know, like, I don't know if this is like a commonly understood thing, but orcs and goblins kind of come from a place of mild like almost ambivalent racism, as like these savages who need to be stopped in a way, these impure people. But in Master of the Mountain, they're the underclass, which is a brilliant little subversion. The entirety of Master of the Mountain works because it's this kind of, it puts the pieces together from the sets and reorganizes them into this. Well, the point is, it carries over to season 14 or the Island, where the bad guy or the bad guys allegedly are really just like Islander or really just deceived by one guy, and that guy is like stopped in a way. So Ninjago's gotten better. If it has to like confront Asian or no, confront other cultures, it'll do it more respectfully, or it'll like just make sure to put things into the right perspective.
I mean, it's kind of always been the Lego goal to have all the sides be portrayed as equally approachable for kids, who are of course their main target audience. So I think it's quite good when the antagonists are equally well respected by the writers and aren't as vilified.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a different culture and not and not like the standard that was expected until then. I mean, I guess it's okay when it's things like the Serpentine, right?
Hmm.
Or when it's things like the skeletons that are like objectively evil.
Yeah.
If you, I mean the skeletons especially, even though both the skeletons and the serpentine have redeemed themselves at times.
I mean, the
then it's okay.
Serpentine, for example, that's a whole plot line you could,
Oh
work
yeah, I
in.
mean the Take Back Ninjago rally.
Mm.
Um, that I mean I'm not critiquing the writers for having Take Back Ninjago
Yeah,
in there because that
it
was
was
funny,
way
and I
back
think
in 2012 when
it's a
the Serpentine
it's a
were
bit of
portrayed as just
tongue in
completely
cheek
evil.
response there. But yeah, it's okay if you have villainous factions like them, or the Ninjroids, or ones that are generic enough, um, that you can have them as evil. But if you have it as like if like let's say with season 14, if you had the Islanders, I mean if you had them with a slightly different design, right? So they're not glowing purple, and then you had them as objectively evil, that would have been worrying.
Yeah.
Having someone who's people who are clearly people and just of a different culture as the bad guys, even though
I
it's
think
not.
Wildbrain's writers in general are,
Yeah, I think
more
I'm glad
culturally
that they're
aware.
able to avoid that.
Yeah, certainly if Master of the Mountain's any proof, they understand, like, the way capital moves and its role in society.
Master of the Mountain. Yeah, we could get
We
Yumi in
can
here.
we
We'll
could
scream
do a
at
whole
you.
podcast. We'll just
Yeah.
but
RoNCast episode 12 is
Master of the Mountain and its leftist leanings. Yes.
yes.
Certainly, like with I mean, things like the Oni masks are handled a lot better, I think. A lot more places feel more Asian inspired. A lot of things in Ninjago City. I think it really does have, I give a lot of credit to the movie for, making these things stand out properly. But yeah, we do want to cover again. This isn't really an attack on the what is it? On the idea that Ninjago is a good show. I mean, it is a good show. It does have these problems, but while we're on that, like, there was that thing about the fan base getting into a fit every time this is brought up. I think really getting into it, it's like it's a thing about how people like art and they happen to like a certain property, and when it turns out that that property has, you know, weird issues, they're willing to, like, cover for it because they value that art. They want to, and they don't want to, perceive it as having any issues within the, production or within, like, certain categories. Like, it's not even just like whether or not it's problematic. Let's say, season 3 isn't well written. You don't want to. People. It takes a while to come to terms with the idea that the media that you love or consume is
I mean that
perfect.
we all
Isn't
love.
perfect. Yeah, we love the show. We understand it's got problems, and it really is part of, like, the thing about, like, developing a relationship with a piece of media. You have to consider that it's never going to be perfect, and we respect that, but it is always worth pointing out the flaws.
Yeah. You have to critique things you like in order for them to be
Mhm.
better.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of our like fan criticism has actually resulted in any change because the Ninjago fandom really has been coming into its own force only in the last few years. Um, but yeah, I think it's good that we make these complaints, and I think it's good that they get.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Um,
it is part of the fandom being generally pretty young, I think.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a little hard when you've gravitated to this single piece of media and you don't want to be told that, this might not be as good as you think it is because it's your first media. You have an emotional attachment to it. But, I've beat a dead horse, I guess, for a little while.
Yeah, especially because Ninjago has the whole nostalgia factor. A lot of people
yeah.
don't want to admit that stuff from their childhood could have been bad. See that a
Yeah.
lot with like Disney and stuff. People always defend stuff like that because they don't want it. They don't want to sound like they were indulging in something that's negative.
Hmm.
I mean, sometimes it can also just be hard to notice if it's something that you grew up with. Like you just like it goes. Some of it just goes over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, the whole Nia being essentially a servant, that didn't register with me as a kid. It was always just like, oh yeah, Nia's kind of in the background. But then as I was like a bit older and when I would think back on the show, it was more apparent. And it's like, yeah. And I still love the show. Like I still watch it just as much as I did. I mean, maybe not as much as I did when I was younger, because I've seen it all now. But I still enjoy it just as much. And all that's changed is that I can notice these things and think about them,
Yeah.
which is always great, right?
When I was younger, I didn't even know Ninjago was like supposed to be Asian inspired because I wasn't the brightest, but I also didn't know too much about the world's culture, so I wasn't able to pick up on that.
Yeah,
But when
it's definitely a. Go ahead.
when I started watching it again over the summer with my sister, we were like, oh wait, this is how did we never realize this? This is so obvious. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely something that just like comes into itself when you grow up and you realize, there are some issues or some aspects of it that certainly could have just been done better.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like we honestly covered most of it. If anyone wants to keep going, we got a pretty good. This was honestly a really good episode, I think.
Yeah, that was a really good discussion.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Alex.
It was
or Alexa
really
Dov.
great having you here. And I mean, hopefully, we said we want to do a full Harumi episode. It would be great if we could have you back for that. And I'm sure we can get people that don't drop out at the last second. Baklava.
Yeah, or
that
join
was
late.
not my fault.
Yeah, sure.
No. This
I would
is
enjoy talking about Harumi. I will never pass up an opportunity to talk about and defend Harumi.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to having a Harumi episode.
Yeah. All right. I guess signing off.